Bored on a weekend, I decided to explore the Netflix originals, and I found The Umbrella Academy, and I thought, why not? And I watched it in a few days, and it was pretty good. The show is basically about a dysfunctional, traumatized family, with them also being superheroes. There are several different stories happening at the same time, so I'll try to go over some of them. The overarching plot of the apocalypse is kind of unoriginal, but it still feels interesting to watch. The subplot with Allison and her daughter was very boring and unnatural, with Allison only seeming to care about her daughter when the plot asked for it. The time travel story with Five and HQ is by far the most interesting and makes me wish it was the main focus. Most of the characters don't have anything to do in the first half of the show, and the show definitely shouldn't have been 10 episodes as the story just kind of trudges along between the different stories with so much downtime. A super big problem that this show rushes past is that Allison literally had her throat slit, started bleeding out, passed out from blood loss, had her siblings come rescue her several minutes later, drive her all the way back to the academy even though they were in the middle of the forest, and then save her no problem with her waking up in a few days, and then walking. The story is pretty unique overall and interesting, keeping me invested from episode to episode. One of the worst flaws of the show is how tone deaf it seems to be. There seem to be serious moments that are attempting to develop characters, but then there's this mischievous music in the background. The separation between serious moments and comedic moments was very weak, and I felt it hard to be invested in some moments when the music and dialogue are telling me to feel two different ways. Most of the characters are kind of annoying and unnecessarily moody. Of the family, Klaus and Five are by far the most likable and interesting, with Diego growing on me throughout the show. Hazel is interesting and funny when he isn't with the donut lady, who is strangely given a larger role than expected. It was annoying being told how good of assassins Hazel and Cha-Cha were when they were so incapable and naive throughout the show. Also, why is Luther denoted as the super strong man, but he loses a fight against the fat assassin who had to get a wrist brace for carrying a briefcase? His powers are pretty useless throughout the show. The acting is pretty bad from the likes of Allison and Luther, who just deliver their lines unnaturally. They're not entirely to blame, though, as most of the dialogue is unnatural itself. The actress that Allison always does this shocked, offended face throughout the show, which is fine, but she also does it right after getting her throat slit when she wakes up. I mean, you don't have the energy to be that expressive right after getting your throat slit. Ellen Page's monotone, vulnerable acting style is not well met with the upbeat, dark humor nature of the show. When Vanya is on the screen, the show becomes really depressing and it nearly comes to a halt. Five is shockingly the best actor on the show, even though he's the youngest, and child actors are usually bad, especially the rest of the young academy. Klaus, Pogo, and Hazel also give good performances. The directing is competent with some nice shots. The direction was not good in terms of getting better performances out of some of the actors, but it works overall. Normally adding pop songs during action sequences is annoying and cheap, but it really seems to work here and it adds to the overall feel and tone of the show. The CGI ranges from good to awful. The effects for Pogo are really good, but during the fight sequences, the physics have unrealistic feeling where things don't move naturally. Except for the last episode where the CGI is plentiful and bad overall, the visual effects are rather seamless and unnoticeable. The editing is okay, except in some scenes where the show flashes back when a character is recalling something, which is incredibly annoying and unrewarding to the viewer. There's a shot in one of the middle episodes where Vanya finds her father's journal suspiciously in the possession of her boyfriend, and then she and the show forget until one of the last two episodes where she finds the journal again, with seemingly no recollection of finding it the first time. The production design in the show is pretty great. The Academy subtly acknowledges the fact that a group of super children were raised inside of it, especially with the doorway to the kitchen just being a blown-out wall. Overall, the show is too long and slowly paced with some tonal problems, but other than that, the show is interesting and creative with fun characters and a really intriguing time travel plot. I'll give this a 6 or 7 out of 10.